Hello dear students, this is Sonali, and in my last video which I sent you for these two stanzas of somebody's mother, the voice was not audible after 2 minutes and 18 seconds. So I got feedback from few of you, and when I checked it was really so. I couldn't hear, so there was a problem in the video, I guess some technical error. So I'm redoing this video and sending you. So the test for true story of sea turtles will be taken in the next lecture, that is Wednesday. So let us begin with the poem once again, rather the two stanzas. In the earlier we have seen 6 stanzas before this. So in the earlier 6 stanzas we have seen that there was an old woman. She was very poor. Her hair was gray, and she was very weak. Also, she didn't. She was wanting to cross the road, so she was standing by the side of the road, but she was unable to do so because she was very weak. The snow was covered with. Sorry, the road was covered with snow and was slippery, and the other reason was that it was very crowded, so she could not gather the courage to cross the road, and so she was waiting by the side of the road, waiting for the proper opportunity to cross the road, but she was unable to find one. Now so then when she was standing there, there were so many people who passed by her. There were so many people who just didn't even notice her. Few of them pushed her still further to the side of the road, and few of them didn't even notice her. They just went by their way. Then there were so many people who literally went by her but didn't even notice her. So then there was the school was left for the day, and when these children came out of the school, so many children also passed by her. They were in their own, they also did not notice her. And then ultimately a group of boys, last group of boys, came out of the school, and out of that there was a boy who was really very helpful, very kind and very generous, and that boy happened to notice her. So he went to the lady. He very gently said into her ears that if she wanted to cross the road, he was ready to help her cross the road. So he did hold her, rather, she placed her old, aged, weak hands into his strong young arms, and he held her across the road. He crossed the road, came back to his friends, and then he was very happy, very proud, because that day he was able to help someone, and he was very happy for that help. So he came back to his friends, and he was like very happy. He felt on the top of the world. So now we are going to continue. So when he came back to his friends, he said to his friends, "She's somebody's mother, boys. For all she is aged and poor and slow, and someone sometime may lend a hand to help my mother. You understand? If ever she's old and poor and grey, and her own dear boy so far away." So here in this stanza we can see that when this young happy boy went back to his friends, he said to his friends that that she was also somebody's mother, and she was very old, poor and weak or slow. Now he further said that after few years, a time may come when his own mother would become old and helpless, and it may be, or it might be impossible, that it may be quite possible that he might be far away from his mother. But he was very sure that sometime some that time someone may definitely be there to help his mother the way he helped somebody's mother. So if we do good to others, it will definitely come back to us someday or other. And so whenever it is possible, we should always try and keep on helping others, because it's a very different experience. It's a very great feeling that you have been of somebody's help without they asking you, or like without having any self motive into it, or self interest into it. So without any condition, unconditionally helping someone really gives us a great pleasure. Moving ahead to the next stanza, the poet says, somebody's mother bowed low her head in her home that night, and the prayer she said was, God, be kind to that noble boy who's somebody's son and pride and joy. So, here in the last paragraph, the poet is saying that she is also somebody's mother, and that somebody's mother here, this somebody mother means that old woman who wanted to cross the road. So when she went home that day, she bowed her head low. That means she sat down to pray. So in her prayer she said something, and she was very happy and felt proud of that boy. So in her prayer she said to the she said to God that God, the young boy was somebody's son and somebody's pride. Since he was very kind and helpful, uh, God should also be very kind to him whenever he is or he was in any difficulty. He requested God to help him. So she was so very happy that he helped her. So she requested God, she prayed to God that God should also take care of that child. So the learning we get from this poem is that whenever we do something good to others, we help them, show our kindness, they definitely do pray for us, and these blessings definitely makes our life really better. The poetess has given us the message that wherever we see a needy person, we must help them without hesitation. So children, now we can see the moral responsibilities or the moral values are really reducing, and people are not so very keen on helping others. Rather, we are not so very vigilant, and we really do not um, bother so much, like where in the earlier part of the poem it is mentioned that so many people just walked by her sides, few of them actually pushed her. So this is what really happens. We really do not have time, or we do not really bother to notice and look at someone else. We are all engrossed into ourselves. So although this poem is written very quite long ago, but still its resemblance, or its like we can see that it's applicable even today. So we should, as far as we can, we should try and help others, so that even we get satisfaction, even they are very happy that someone helped them. Also we get their blessings. So as per our culture, we always try to get the blessings of our elders, so that would really definitely help us out. Now coming back to the poem, um, if you see, so all the last ending words, just a minute. So if you see the last words of the first line is gray day, so it rhymes with each other. Then the next set of words is snow and slow. Again, they rhyme with each other. Snow and slow do rhyme with each other. Then we see that long and thong also rhyme with each other. Then by and I rhyme with each other. Similarly, we can also see that shout and out rhyme with each other. Then sleep, deep rhyme with each other. We also can see that gray and way also rhyme with each other. So we can see that there are every two lines rhyme with each other. So we can say that the uh, poem is a couplet and is in couplet, and the rhyme scheme of the poem is A, A, B, B, C, C, D, sorry, D, D, and so on. Okay, so the rhyme scheme of the poem is A, A, B, B, C, C, D, D, and so on. Now, moving ahead to the poetic devices. In the first line of the poem, the woman was old and ragged and grey. Now, children, here the words old and grey are the similar meaning words. They mean the same, but the synonymous words are used in the same line. So, here the figure of speech is tautology. Okay, it's tautology. Also, we can see that the word and are repeated, so it is also an example of repetition. Then moving ahead, the third line, streets were white with a recent snow. So here we can see the sound of the consonant W is repeated quite frequently. So the poetic device used is alliteration. Alliteration. In the last line, and the woman's feet with age were slow. Here we can see the example of inversion, like in inversion. Now the order of the words is changed for the poetic effect. The correct order should be and the woman's feet were slow with age. So were slow should have been earlier, and then with age should have come later. So it is an example of inversion. Also, we can see that it is an example of synecdoche. So now here in this line, the word woman's feet with age were slow. So it is said that the feet of the woman are slow, but it was not that only her feet had been slow because of age, it was that overall she had become aged and so her speed has lowered down. So the part of the woman, that is the feet, is used to represent the whole woman. So a part used for the whole is the example of synecdoche. Okay, moving ahead to the next stanza. In the first line, um, as the crowded at the crowded crossing, she waited long. Here we can see that the sound of consonants cr is repeated. So the sound repetition is alliteration. So the figure of speech here is alliteration. Then in the last line of the same stanza, unheeding the glance of her anxious eyes. So here we can see that the epithet or the adjective anxious is transferred from the old woman to her eyes. Now, are only the eyes anxious? No, the whole woman was anxious, right? So, but here it is said that the woman's eyes were anxious. Anxious eyes. So here it means her anxious eyes means the woman. She was um, the woman was anxious. So here it the figure of speech or the poetic device used is transferred epithet. So it is transferred epithet. So I think you must have got the difference now in the you are not confused between synecdoche and transferred epithet. Here the adjective is transferred for the whole woman to her eyes, and there the part of the woman resembled her action or her slowness, you can say. So it was said that her feet were slow, whereas it was like she was slow. And here the adjective is transferred. So here the woman word is not used at all, but it means woman and only eyes are given in the poem. So moving ahead to the next stanza. The second last line in this stanza, past the woman so old and grey. So again we can see that the synonymous words old and grey are used. So again it is an example of tautology. Similar meaning words are used in the same line. So it is an example of tautology. That's the only major figure of speech in this or major poetic device in this. There might be few more, you can find it out, but these are the most key ones which I am discussing with you. Moving ahead, in this first line you can see the sound H is repeated, helping hand, so it is alliteration. Also, I guess that's it. Moving towards the next stanza. So again here, no major, you can say, um, major figures of speech are there, like so still moving ahead to the uh, last stanza on this page. Here again we have a lot of them. So her aged hand on his on his strong young arm she placed. So this is an example of inversion, and the correct order should be she placed her aged hand on his young strong arm. So that is an example of inversion. In the second line, sorry, in the same line, we can see the use of two opposite words, that is, one is aged and the other is young. So these are the opposite meaning words. So the figure of speech used here is antithesis. Okay. Two opposite words used in the same line. So in the next line we have, sorry, in the second line we have an example of hurt or harm. The consonant sound H is repeated, so again it's an example of alliteration. Also in the second last line we have uh, then again back to his friends he went. Here this is an example of inversion. The correct order should be he went back again to his friends. Now the last line of this stanza, his young happy heart and well content. So here first of all we have an example of synecdoche. Now synecdoche because heart, here if we can see the young heart. So this here, does it mean that the child had only a young heart? No, the child himself was young. So a part is used or to refer to the boy. So when a part is referred, we have the figure of speech synecdoche. Part to refer to the whole body or the whole boy. So when a part is referred to as a whole thing, then used to refer the whole thing, it is called as synecdoche. So here it is synecdoche. Also we have the figure of speech of transferred epithet, because it is said his young heart. Now this young um, epithet, young heart happy. So the uh, epithet or the adjective happy is transferred from the boy to his heart. Here it means that only the heart of the boy was happy, wherein the poet actually means to say that the boy was happy himself. So it is an example of transferred epithet. Okay, that's it on this page. Let's move ahead to the next page. Now here, first of all, you can see that she is somebody's mother. So here we can see that the consonant sound S is repeated. So it is an example of alliteration. Also, um, she is somebody's mother, boys, you know. So this is also an example of inversion, because the correct order should be, you know, boys. She is somebody's mother, so it is also an example of inversion. Okay, now moving ahead, on in the third line we can see, and someone sometime may lend a hand. So here we can see the word some is repeated, so it is an example of a repetition. And that's it. Again, you can see the word old and gray are quite frequently repeated, so in the same line. So always we have the example of tautology. Old and gray, similar meaning words are used in the same line. um, Here again in the second line we have the words and repeated, so it is an example of repetition as well. Then moving ahead to the last stanza. So in the last stanza, the first line, which continues to the half of the second, she's somebody's mother bowed low her head in her home that night. So this is an example of inversion. The correct order of the words should be, and that night she said the prayer in her home. Okay, so that's the correct order. So this is also an example of inversion. Now this is it. We have discussed almost most of the major figures of speech in this poem. That's it. You can still have many more, but these were the major ones which I discussed with you, more prominent ones. So that's it. Thank you so much. Please go through the poem. If you still have any doubts, you can get back to me. Thank you so much, children. I hope this poem is quite very clear to you now. Thank you.